What is going on, Comic Fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by comic creator Marvin Wynn. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm super excited. Got connected. You were in contact with my boy Rod from Just a Rican, and he was like, "Dude, you've got to bring Marvin onto your show." And so I was like, "Absolutely!" And I'm excited that we got to connect. So,
Cool.
welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about your book that just came out last week or a couple weeks ago, but before we hop into your book, I always like to know, how did you get into creating comics?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it's always the same story. Like, my grandmother bought me my first comic from, I don't know, do you guys have Giant Eagle?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So from Giant Eagle and the spinner racks when they used to have comics in Giant Eagle. And it was Captain America, I believe. So from there, I went into watching G.I. Joe. And so got that comic. And then, you had Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And I always tell the story about how when I first watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and I got the X-Men comic, I'm like, where's Firestar? There's no Firestar in X-Men. What is this? What's going on? And then years later, I found out that it was supposed to be the Human Torch. And they couldn't use them for that show. So they created Firestar, who for some strange reason looked just like Mary Jane. So it's Mary Jane with similar power to the Human Torch.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So from there, I discovered comic shops and was watching, I think it was years after Robotech had finished, and found that comic. And it was just pretty much a retelling of the series. So I was buying that one. And then I discovered, oh, there's other kind of comics here. So you had from Captain America to X-Men to Avengers to X-Factor. And then you jumped into X-Force and things like that. And then Image happened. So that big boom of Image was that fire in me that said that, hey, maybe it's a chance. Go and try and do your own stuff and see if you like it. So I started writing scripts, and I admit that they weren't very good then, back in the 90s. And it was too influenced by what I was reading. It came off like I was writing one of their books.
Gotcha.
So I decided, well, I mean, why don't I take some creative writing classes and some marketing classes and then jump from there. So then I waited like maybe 12 years before I started again, back like 2005 or so. I started writing then, and then I let people read it, and they were like, oh yeah, man, this is pretty good. So then when I met the artist, Mark Louis, that's when it all came together. That was in 2012.
Nice. That's cool. Like, it's always cool to hear those stories of like you start out, you're trying to figure it, and you're like, you know what, I need to hone my craft a little bit.
Yeah.
And you went out and found opportunities and ways that you could grow as a creator. I think that's super cool to see that. Yeah.
I mean, it's you have to be able to burst out of your own bubble, and you just can't sit there in a vacuum and say that, oh, what I'm writing is good. And then when you let someone read it, you want them to be honest with you about it. And the person that read it was like, try again, because it's not working. And I knew it wasn't, because it was all over the place. I mean, the characters like, I would say that of the characters I created my first run, 10% made it into the book. I cut 90% of the characters, and decided from there that, because what I was doing was creating a power and then giving that power to a character, instead of creating a character and then saying what works for this character, what doesn't work for them. And it's just that bend you have to do with yourself to say that you're not doing it right, so try again.
Yeah, trying to figure out what comes first, right? Or is it the character development? Is it, basic of the power? I like that. That's so cool. Yeah. That's why I love bringing creators onto the show, to just get their different insights of how they go about creating a book and how they go through that process. And
yeah,
it was really
cool. I mean,
cool.
you don't want a power in a character, especially in a book like this, because of the trial and tribulations I put these characters through when they don't have their powers sometimes. And then you have to look at them as a regular human. They need characterization. They need vices. They need direction and stuff like that. You just can't say, well, this person has this power, but what happens when they don't have the power? It's always the same thing when I look at a character, say like Jean Grey, where Jean Grey is all about, she's a telekinetic, she's a telepath, she's the Phoenix. What else is she? She's Scott Summers' girlfriend. okay, what else? There's not a lot of depth to that character, and it just grates me that characters have been around since the 60s, and really doesn't have a personality.
Mm. Mm. That's so interesting to see, like, then, like, you know, that has influenced your reading of that book, then, you know, of how you want to develop your characters.
Right.
Super cool.
Yeah, all the characters, they have to have thoughts. They just can't be this amazing ability and then nothing else. It's got to have something else to it.
So we kind of have bridged into it a little bit, your book, but you are the creator of the book The Edge.
Yes.
And from Second Sight Publishing.
Correct.
If someone's watching this interview or listening to the podcast and they've never gotten to read this issue yet, what's your pitch for them? What is this world you've created?
So the basic premise of the book is that there's a drug called the Edge. It's been secretly dosed in people around the world. Some people will develop abilities, some people won't. The trick is that while we'll give you powers, the more you use the powers, the more it's going to pretty much drain you, and then you get infected and you die. So the lead gray area, I don't want to call him a villain, because we don't even call him a villain. We don't even go in that path. Is Revenant and his handler Tartable. So Revenant is a assassin for the government, and he escapes into the wild with the secrets of the Edge and other details. So Tartable decides, well, I mean, we can't have him running wild. So he forms a team to go after Revenant, and then chaos ensues as this team attempts to take down this guy who's a master of escape, a master of weapons, and his ability to mimic himself. So he's that one-man army you can drop behind enemy lines and just tell him just to destroy everything in his path.
And yeah, you've created a really cool world in this for sure. So when you started to develop this book, this series, did you have a vision for how many issues you wanted this, or is this kind of like, here, I'm gonna just start and see, and I can go forever with it? Like, right. Do you have kind of a...
When I first started writing it, I had an end goal in mind, but working with Mark and the colorist Luis and James, the letterer, and just talking with other people about it, we can keep it going as long as we can. I mean, we can have some characters leave or fatalize them and bring new characters in. I mean, it's a whole entire universe that we created with multiple sets of characters that we can roll this for as long as we can. As long as we're still having fun, we're enjoying it, we can keep it going.
Nice. Well, so you mentioned Mark, right? I think it's Mark, right? Who's on Pencils and Inks.
Yes.
How did you get connected with Mark then? And how the rest of this team come together?
I met Mark on, I don't know if you remember Digital Webbing. It was old. So there was back in the 90s and into I'm gonna say the mid 2000s or so. I mean, I think these things, like it was Digital Webbing, it was Pencil Jack, is where all the creators hung out and talked and chatted. And I saw his work on the message board there. And I sent him an email because, I mean, this is a time where I'm just getting revved up into it. And I just had started writing like 6 years ago fully of creating. So I got in contact with Mark, and I sent him the first issue of the script, and he said he loved it and he wanted to do it. He wanted to work on it. So it's just been from there, grown and grown and grown as we go together.
Yeah.
Where right now we're right at almost the end of issue 14 with Pencils. And we're working on 3 other books at the same time that are satellite books to the Edge. And it's just been a thrill we're at. And between those 14 issues and those other 4 books, I've had to change one thing that he's done in that time.
Sheesh. So issue 1 just came out recently, and you guys are already working on issue 14. Like you guys are far down this road of what this universe can be.
Right. I mean, we had a plan going forth, and it was just to drive forward. And like I said, there were bumps in the road, and there's storylines that were completely dropped because it wasn't fitting what was coming later. So there was a storyline where we had characters going to Japan, and I wiped it completely from the slate because it just didn't fit in where we were going. So it'll show up later, but in a different form. So this was like issue 3 or 4 where we were doing like, this doesn't work. It's not working for me. I mean, let's just keep going with Revenant and see where this goes. And the good thing and bad thing is that he's becoming a popular character, and I really can't have that because he's not a good person. So I don't want it to be like on, if you watch wrestling, where when they start cheering the bad guy, all of a sudden they want him to be a good guy, or if they're cheering they booing the good guy, they want to make him a bad. I don't want to do that. I don't want him to turn into like a Sabretooth or a Juggernaut or a Harley Quinn type character where he's done some dastardly, disgusting things. I don't want him on the side of the Angels or in that mix where, oh, now he's a good guy now, and now he has to atone for the thing. No, he's a jerk, and he's going to continue to be a jerk forever.
So you're like, no, stop liking him. He's not likable.
Well, I mean, it's good that they like him, but then what I have to do is I have to take him away and say that, oh, he's going away for a while. He'll be back later. So then it just doesn't get that momentum that happens with that, because then it almost becomes that he becomes the star of the book almost if he's always there.
Yeah.
So then as we've been going along, and we've had other colorists on the book, Stephen and a few other people, but Luis is the one who came on board. I found him on DeviantArt. And then James was also from Digital Webbing.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So second site publishing, how did you get connected with them with this book?
So back last year, we were actually getting ready to release issue 10 of The Edge. So we were self-publishing ourselves. Okay. And we were going to have a release party at the local comic shop here, New Dimension. And you guys might have one New Dimension, I think, in Ohio.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they have one store in Ohio, Youngstown or something. Yeah. So we were going to have a release party for issue 10. I had sent out and got responses from like 200 people that said they were coming because I was offering free food. So anytime you want to do any kind of event, always have free food because people will show up. You offer food and drink, I'm coming. So that's
they're in.
Yeah, I'm all in. And we had to cancel that because of the COVID. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at a situation where we're pretty much blown up. Yeah. Because most of our sales and things we're coming from local shops. Like we spread out as we go, but you get a lot of, well, if you guys were in Diamond, I'd be happy to order it. Or we really can't bring in indie books right now. They don't sell, or we want to do consignment, or I mean, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just that we need to be able to guarantee a sale so we can make sure we can get that next issue into people's hands. So I'm sitting there with an issue 10, and I'm like, what's the next move? So what ended up happening was I saw that Second Sight was Bradley Golden was starting Second Sight as a publisher because that was his company that he was doing his book Leave the Light On with Caliber Comics. Okay. So I saw that Spike Jarrell was doing submission. So I got in contact with Spike and I asked him, so what's going on with this? What are your guys' goals? How far are you want to take it? And he said that we're thinking about, we want to do big things. And our first step is Diamond. We want to get into Diamond. So I said, that's what I need. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a way to grow beyond what I'm doing, because getting into Diamond is not an easy thing. Right. And maybe what's happened with DC and Marvel will make it a little bit easier for people to get in there. But at that time, it wasn't easy. I mean, it's a paper form and it's a whole entire process behind it. So I figured, okay, if these guys are going to get in the Diamond, it might be a good idea for me to pitch the book to them and see what happens. Yeah. So Spike contacted me again. He says, are you going to submit? I said, yeah, I'm going to submit. So I submitted to them, and it was like 2 weeks later, they said, all right, you're in. So we started building in, and then it just happened that I was sitting on a brand new version of issue 1, because like I said, we had already released the issue 1. Right. So like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, Mark, well, let's redraw issue 1. And then we were going to offer it in a new trade. So I figured, all right, so we're sitting on this book. Let me throw it over to Luis and James to get it finished. So we sent that for publishing to Second Sight, and the book was originally supposed to come out March 3rd. It got delayed to March 17th, and I'm not in panic mode. I'm just like, how much further are we going to push this? So it ended up being a good thing for us, because if it would have came out on the 3rd, we'd have got swallowed up with Berserk. It had been a done deal for that book, I think. I don't think we would have moved as many books as we did if we would have come out the same day as Berserk. So it was kind of a mixed blessing that it got moved from that day. But it came out March 24th. The reviews have been excellent. The feedback from the stores and customers have been really good. And I'm happy, but I'll never be satisfied. Never be satisfied. And we just want to keep doing better and better and better and get those numbers up. So this last run with issue 1, I contacted 1,500 stores across the world. Mostly all of them were English-speaking stores. This time I'm going to try to go to gamut and contact every English-speaking store in the world and some that don't speak English and see what happens.
Ooh, but that's a grind, and that's what I love about especially having these conversations with indie creators, because you aren't going to do that effort if it's not a book that you don't believe in yourself. Yeah. Like, you're not going to put out something like, I think this is all right, and then go and promote it to all these other stores. Like, this is something that it seems like it has been a passion of you, and you can tell just by how you talk about it. And I think when you do that, that gets people excited. People can sense that and see that. Yeah.
I mean, but that's why I like talking to people about it, because I want to like share my energy with people and say that, man, this is a passion project. It's something I started doing back in the 90s and never imagined that it would flourish the way it is right now. I never had a thought in my mind, because back in the 90s, you had Brainier printing, and it was so expensive to get a book done. And now it's not as expensive anymore, and it's opening so many doors. And that's what the one thing about the indie community is, that we want to raise everyone up. We don't want to leave anybody behind. We want to help everyone who's trying to get in, because I know the most challenging part is the promotion. So somebody can create a book all day long, but being able to promote it also is a challenge for a lot of people, which is why a lot of books don't get past issue 1. Yeah. So I say that I'm out here and I'm willing to help anybody. I'll share your stuff on all my social media, and I'll be happy to help you promote your book to stores also.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like that's what's so great about the comic community. And I've noticed in general, but whether it's indie creators, whether it's content creators like YouTube and stuff, like majority of the people are in it to build each other up, and because we're all doing stuff that we love. Like, we all love either writing comics or talking about comics and getting exposed to that. And so I think that's just cool to hear, people like, yeah, let's build each other up. It makes it such a better community.
Right. And it should be fun. Like, we should be having fun doing this stuff. There shouldn't be any arguments about anything if we're all enjoying what we're doing. And that's the one thing that I really want to enforce with people, is that I'm having fun. Yeah. And Mark is having fun, and Luis is having fun, and James said, we're all sharing our love and our passion of the things that we can do. I mean, but it's like, I leave that stuff to the experts of that, and they say that, is it okay if I do this? Like, do it, man. I mean, I trust you. I know you love the book too, and you don't want to make it look bad, but I mean, like, it's that passion and what you're bringing to the table and everything. And I just like give all respect to those guys and helping me to realize my dream.
So we've gotten a little bit into the industry stuff, which I love. I love getting into the weeds of things. But I want to promote your book. I want to get back to the edge real quick. How did you come up with this concept, the idea of this drug, and utilize, like, how did that kind of percolate in your head of like, this is my story?
I think it's more or less the world as I see it, and that I see a lot of people struggling with addictions, and I see people struggling with mental health. So there's a lot of addiction and mental health, and there's a lot of you're with the things that we're ingesting into our bodies and the foods we're eating, with all the additives and everything, we don't even know we're addicted to something until we're not eating it, and you're like, oh man, why do I have a headache? Oh, because I didn't have any caffeine today, and
Right.
and that's where it all comes from, is the human condition.
Mm.
So we do a lot of stuff with the mental health of the characters also, where, and I'm going to put out a little spoiler. Like later in the book, we take one of the characters' powers away from him, and then we kind of dare him to do what he has to do to get them back. So he's going to make some decisions on how to get his powers back. That's going to not only affect him, but the rest of the team also.
That's what's so great, is there's levels to it, and you see that in this first issue, and I think like the more as the series goes on, we're going to see some of those things that you were talking about even more prevalent, and I think that's something that as a reader we can look forward to. It's exciting
that there's a lot of nuances with the characters, and there's going to be situations where we're going to go into these characters' past and show some things that makes them look like they're jerks too, like Revenant. So, and the one thing that we do is that we don't do origins until it's important to the story.
Mm.
So we will in the next issue, we're going to dive in a little to Bolt's background.
Okay.
And then I don't think we do another origin until like around issue 6, or not origin, but background on the character, because we know what the origin is, but we don't know how they got to where they are. Mm. So until it's important to the story, we keep flowing, because the one thing that Origins does, it slows the story down. It's like, hit the brakes. Here's a sidebar. All right, go back to the story. No, it's going to mix right in. It's going to keep the story flowing. It's going to mix right in and keep it going.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, you have a world that you, like you said, you can take it in so many different directions. Mm-hmm. And I just, this world screams to me of like, like you said, you could take different comic books off of that. Mm-hmm. And have own little series off of this main series. You can do like this. Just you've created an expansive world for sure.
Right. So and that's what we're doing with what I call them gap books. So they're going to be between the arcs. So between issue 4 and 5, between issue 9 and 10, there's going to be arcs. Gaps. So it's something that we wanted to include in the main story, but it slowed it down so much that we wanted to separate it out into its own thing. So then we can get a focus on, like, the first one is going to be Blaine, and the second one is going to be Blaine, and then there's going to be other characters who are going to pop in with their own stories. But it's just like expansive stories. We're like, it goes here, but it's just slowing everything down to a point that we just can't work it. So since it's a solo Blaine story where he goes off on his own mission, it just didn't fit with what we were doing with the main title.
Gotcha. So how often is this book coming out? Because I know you're going through Diamond. Is it, how often is it coming out?
So that was a goof on my part. When I signed up with Second Sight, I told them I wanted to do quarterly, which somebody there should have said, hey guys, stop that. Be quiet. You got enough books. You don't need to do that. So issue 2 should drop in May, and the next previews coming May.
Okay.
Which will put it in July. After that, it's going to be bi-monthly.
Okay. Nice. So if people haven't gotten a chance to read issue 1, they've got some time to play catch up then before issue 2 drops. And so it'll be in previews. You said in May, the May preview.
Right. So the issue 1 was in January's preview. So if anyone is trying to get to their store to get it, just put an order in then. And I would just say, go ahead and subscribe to it now, because we got a lot coming.
And, Is this one that like they can still, like, if someone has it through their local shop, like, hey, I want this book, I can order it issue 1 still through the shop?
Yes, you can still order. I don't think we're going to do second prints through Diamond. I think we're going to do second prints through the Second Sight store when that's up. Okay. Because we've got alternate covers that are going to be for Second Sight, and then there will be covers that I'll have personally to me that I'll be taking to conventions. Since we're going to have a convention here in Pittsburgh in May, the Three Rivers Comic Con, it's going to be outside. So that's going to make it easier. But I think Steel City is scheduled for June. I don't know if that's happening.
Okay. That's exciting then for sure.
Yeah.
So people can go through their shop still to get issue 1. It sounds like they can also go through Second Sight to pick up
Yes.
comics?
Once the store is up, I mean, I'll make an announcement on my Facebook page, on Twitter and Instagram, letting people know that it's there. But this one will have different, like everything we do is going to be different than what's going to Diamond.
Okay.
So we're going to do a crowdfunding sometime this year or next year for the trade, and it's going to be completely different than what you're going to get through Diamond. So this is going to have 4 extra pages of a Revenant story.
Oh, nice.
So Revenant's getting his own little story. It's going to cover every event that happens to him up until issue 1.
Okay. All right. That's exciting. And
so you get to get into the mind of the Madman.
That's fantastic. So you said people can follow you. What's the best place? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? If they want to know what's going on?
I think all 3. I think I'm trying right now to grow my Twitter, and it's going slowly. I think I'm at 650. It's going slowly but surely. But on Twitter, I am at Marvin Wynn. On Instagram, at The Edge Comic, and Facebook at The Edge Comic. Twitter, there is someone who's sitting on that at The Edge Comic on Twitter, and I've emailed them and asked them, can I have it? And they said no.
It's the worst. So all the links and stuff that Marvin just said are in the description of this video. Make sure you guys click those, follow along. Man, I hesitate to ask, like, do you have anything else coming up? Because it seems like you're just so immersed in this world of The Edge, but do you got anything else?
So I am working one sad story that has nothing to do with The Edge. It's going to be a horror book that I've been working on for a while, but it's going to be werewolves, not zombies. Because as soon as I bring up horror, somebody said, "Don't do zombies! Don't do zombies! I'm tired of zombies." And it's funny because I just watched 2 videos for video games today, and it was both with zombies. I'm like, so yeah, it's going to be werewolves. And there is a sad story with The Edge because we do have a Superman archetype character.
Okay.
Called what do we call him? Sigma. And he is a character that I'm really playing around with, that he refuses to get into any more fights anymore. He has PTSD and anxiety. So whenever he hears this like a siren from a police car or a fire engine, he grabs at his chest and he just sits in his chair and watches TV. So we're going to play around with that and see what the world is like with him when he refuses to do anything.
I love the ideas of just taking some real life stuff and putting it like that, and that's fantastic. So
yeah, we're trying different things with this, and we're trying to put it into a situation where people can say that, yeah, I felt like that before, or yeah, that's happened to me, and make it fantastic, like what was Marvel's old slogan, "The world outside your window." That's what we're trying to do, is like we're trying to take this fantastic world but make it so that you can feel what those characters are feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marvin, thank you so much for just taking some time to hang out and talk about comic books with me. I appreciate it immensely.
Yep, thank you.
So with that being said, gang, make sure you guys go follow Marvin. Like I said, all the links to everything we talked about are in the description of this video. Go check out The Edge issue #1 in your shops now, and if it's not, go order it through Diamond or Second. Just check it out.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, gang, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out.
Yeah.
Peace.
Good night.